Lavanya, please tell us what it means. Open source.
Right.
What is it?
Open source means many things to different sets of people. Let me begin by addressing one set of people at a time. If you're an entrepreneur, open source means for you the fastest way you can get your product to market. A way of building software that will reduce your total cost of ownership, that will let you own all the intellectual property without getting any proprietary vendor lock-in, and also the ability to learn from the experience of an entire community. So that's what open source means to an entrepreneur or a startup. To a developer or to a CDO or to an engineering manager inside a startup, open source means the ability to give away the source code to a community for feedback, to fix security holes, suggest features, suggest improvements, and so on and so forth. As a user of open source, what it means to me, as a customer, if I'm using a product or technology that has come out of open source, I know three things. Nobody can help me hostage for all the business solutions that I build around it, because I will always have the source code. It has been peer reviewed by smartest brains, not just by a bunch of guys inside a closed room in a proprietary vendor situation. By its very nature, it would have integrated all the latest innovations that are out there in the technology landscape into it. If I'm an investor, open source means to me the greatest ROI on my investment, because I'm not burning my dollars in reinventing the wheel with vanilla features which already have been done a zillion times over and over again. All my dollars spent is going towards building the core value proposition of a product which is very, very unique. So that is what open source means to a different set of people. Simply defined, it's a way of building software where source code is available both to the developer community to provide feedback, add features, to make bug fixes, and to also make the security stronger. From an end customer perspective, it means that you get the source code, so you can scale it, you can customize it, you can integrate it, you can make it do all the fancy things that only your business wants, which would otherwise be very, very expensive to build in a custom product. So depending on which of these communities you belong to, there's a tremendous value proposition and a very deep meaning to open source.
Open source and startups
Right.
in particular. What is the special value that open source technology presents for the startup?
Absolutely. See, when you're in a startup stage, time is money. The faster you can get to the market, you have the first mover advantage. Sometimes the window of opportunity is also very, very small, and you have to just slide through it. So it's very, very critical. It's almost mission critical for a startup to get their offering out there as soon as possible. Open source makes that possible. That by leveraging of assembling of as much intellectual property in open source that you can leverage and building only what you absolutely need to build lets you prove your concept faster, lets you get your value proposition and minimum viable product stage much, much faster. The second thing is capital is really valuable in a startup stage. The more capital efficient you can be, the more equity an entrepreneur will be able to hold on to for subsequent rounds of financing. Open source also allows for lower total cost of ownership. Then you have to drive adoption. One of the aspects of driving greater adoption for your own product or service is how well it plays with other products and services. If you have built it on the open source model, you can integrate it better with so many other applications that are out there. That's also very critical to startups. And then the final value proposition, which is not the only value proposition, is that the ability to own your intellectual property and yet get the whole community to contribute ideas. Except for making your solution open source, there is no other way to do that. So all these value propositions actually make me feel compelled to almost say, if anyone's considering a startup and not considering using best of the breed open source technology at the core of it, they're probably making a mistake. Just look at it to prove my point. Look at the latest technology trends that are coming out right now. What are white hot? Cloud, big data, enterprise mobility, analytics. The greatest innovation in each of these fields is actually built on a bedrock of technology and solutions that were built ground up using the open source methodology of building solutions, as well as the whole value proposition of being able to integrate with the entire open source ecosystem. So why should a startup not use open source is what befuddles me sometimes. But then I guess there are easier ways to do things, and then there are smarter ways to do things. Open source is certainly more modern and smarter way to get your startup off the ground.
Lavanya, you're what is known as a development partner.
Right.
And I want to ask you how that differs from just hiring somebody to write you some software.
Right.
And why an entrepreneurial company should work with a development partner.
Right. So there are several reasons why we are different, but I will take one step back and answer it more from the context that you're asking it. See, in developing your business, you need different things at different stages. When you are at the idea stage, you need to be able to really chisel down the idea to its core value proposition. And once you've chiseled it down to the core value proposition, you need to be able to define what the target market is, what the target segment is it addressable, what is the cost of access, and so on and so forth. So startups especially, the most difficult thing for them is not building the product. It's really identifying where the core opportunity is. And a lot of it comes from being able to reduce the idea to its simplest form of the unique value proposition, the big problem that they're saving or solving for their customers. Now, we actively work with our startup clients in that space. We have mentors on board, we have experts on board who've been on the other side of the table, who've been serial entrepreneurs, and given that we've worked with so many entrepreneurs over the life cycle of OSSCube, that we are very sensitive to the dilemmas and the trade-offs that they must make. So we partner with startups right from their idea stage, helping them chisel it down to where it's just distilled to its core value proposition that's left. Then we help them define not only their technology strategy of how they're going to build a product, but we can also partner with them in building their marketing plan, their capital raising plan, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, these are not the skills that a outsourcing company or a development partner, traditionally speaking, will go out and add value to. Now, of course, after we've done all of that, we do a very good job of actually building the product or the solution and actually partnering in the company to do that. Now, as a business becomes successful and ramps up, what clients expect from their solution is also very different. When you build a mobile app, for argument's sake, how do you build a roadmap that costs you very little or the minimum it should to prove your concept in the market, to get your rounds of funding, and then still have the scalability to become a multi-million-dollar business? So our approach towards partnerships allows us to get engaged at a much deeper level, where we co-create the vision of the product and the solution with them. This also provides continuity to our clients, because some of the innovative product features and ideas that our clients have made a lot of money from have actually come out from suggestions that people in my company have made. And this is the value addition, what I call the icing on the cake for doing a deal with us. We also participate in many different ways. There are times where early startups come in and we believe so much in their idea that we even write a check, get into an equity partnership, whatever it will take for them to be successful. So the difference between us and traditional companies is that we are betting for our value monetization from their business when they become big, not at the front end. So it's more shared success with deferred results if they make it big. And that I don't think many companies will be willing to do. But we have that entrepreneurial spirit, which is absolutely love working with entrepreneurs. I'm a serial entrepreneur myself, so I guess I'm a little softy about that. The whole company's culture is like that we really get excited not by the size of the project, but by how much it will move the needle in solving a problem. How much would it push the envelope in innovation? Is this something that nobody else has thought about? Will it fundamentally alter the landscape of that industry? Is it a paradigm shift or not? And when we get all excited, we are all chips in. So that is, I guess, what really differentiates us from traditional providers.
Not everything out there in the wide world is open source. Some things use proprietary source code. And I'm wondering why you actually put open source in the name of your company. Don't you sometimes have to interface your projects with proprietary things out there in the world?
Yes, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-proprietary software. It has a place in the world. There are great software products that are out there that are proprietary, right? So there is a tremendous amount of value to them. So for me, it's not a religious conversation of open source versus anti-open source. I just fundamentally, passionately believe that open source way of doing things is far more empowering to customers, where steering wheel is firmly in their hand. They can innovate faster, get better ROI on their investment, get best of the breed technology, and also make sure that they're always in charge. They don't have a vendor lock-in. That aspect of putting the control back in the hands of the customer who should have it in the first place really gets me excited. That's number one. The other aspect is that open source is a way of integrating diversity of solutions. By the way, a lot of proprietary solutions can actually be made to work with each other better by building an open source bridge around them, and we do that all the time. You name the branded proprietary products, and we work in integrating them with other proprietary products all the time using open source technology. Now, I have always believed that when you want to solve a problem, you should always solve with the dispassion of what's best for the client, not which vendor do you have licensing relationship with or which vendor's channel partner you are. So to give us a place where we only have the best interests of our client at heart, to remain vendor neutral, and to bring to bear the paradigm shifting nature of enterprise grade open source, we chose to build the company around the foundation of open source. To build a successful business, you don't only need to know what you do, you need to clearly know what you don't do. The more questions you can answer about what's not your business, the more clarity you have about what's your business. And I believe the next billions of dollars of value creation will happen in open source space with us or without us. So why not with us, moving the needle, accelerating it, generating the good karma, so to say, of empowering entrepreneurs and enterprise, at the same time getting highest ROI on their ID spend. I personally believe that's a noble cause, and that's the reason why we have this business and we believe in it so passionately.